Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Daily Triple. That's your no shit gaming news video. 3 news stories in one video with 0 faff. Dying Light flew under the radar for a lot of people, but it's definitely one of the best zombie games out there, especially in recent years. It's an open world first person action game with crafting, free running, and of course zombies, which does, to be fair, sound like the most generic concept ever. The main character was even played by Roger Craig Smith, who is basically just behind Nolan North as your go-to hunky all-American video game action hero. The sequel was first unveiled at E3 in 2018 and promised a fully reactive world that changed along with your narrative decisions. The example given in the gameplay demo was draining a section of the city that was flooded. This would give you access to that area and all the goodies it had to offer, but it was flooded for a reason, meaning that there are consequences for draining it, and these consequences will affect your standing within certain factions. Unfortunately, virtually every other news story about the game since then has signaled some serious development hell over at Techland. Dying Light 2's narration, presumably they mean narrative designer, Pavel Selinger recently left the development team, and in isolation that doesn't really mean all that much, but the game has been going through a number of significant departures and issues since its announcement. This news comes from his LinkedIn page where Selinger said, "After over 22 years I decided to end my cooperation with Techland. I would like to express my gratitude to the company that has allowed me to develop and fulfill myself for half of my life. Techland, I will always be rooting for you as well as the great people I've met thanks to you. I wish you that Dying Light 2 and subsequent projects will become world hits. Goodbye and good luck." Now, people leave projects all the time, but leaving after 22 years just before your last game is meant to come out doesn't speak to a smooth development process to me. A representative from Techland added more detail to Selinger's departure and explained that his position has already been filled. Pavel Selinger, who has been the narration designer for the last 2 years, decided at the end of 2020 to end his cooperation with Techland and to pursue his further career elsewhere. Pavel spent most of his professional life at Techland, and he, among others, takes credit for the success of the series Call of Juarez. He left a large piece of himself with Dying Light 2 as he worked on the project from the very beginning. His duties, i.e. the narrative department, were taken over by Pietro Sazmanek in October 2020. The game was already meant to be out by now, with the original release date of spring 2020, but was delayed last January, and a year later we're yet to hear a new release date. Popular game writer Chris Avallone was working on the narrative for Dying Light 2, but following some controversial sexual assault allegations, he left or was removed from the project, along with his work on Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 over at Hardsuit Labs. Dying Light 2 was also described as a total fucking mess back in May, according to a Polish games news outlet which claims to have its own sources, though Techland's PR manager denied this and claimed it was all an inaccurate translation, so who knows if anything is true anymore. So back to what I said earlier, on its own the departure of Pavel Selinger from the narrative team may not mean all that much, but when looking at the various controversies and the indefinite delay, things aren't looking too good, at least from the outside. Perhaps things are better than they appear, and I really hope they are, because I loved the first Dying Light and I'm really looking forward to the next one because it sounds seriously ambitious. Techland is also self-publishing this one, which is a huge undertaking on top of actually developing the game, so no doubt that has made things harder, but I'm still hoping for the best. God knows I could really do with a bit of positive news right now. Techland's PR rep also said that they will be sharing exciting news about Dying Light 2 soon, so I guess we should watch out for that. And next up, 2020 was one hell of a year, as I'm sure most of you can agree. On top of more dramatic real-world stories than I care to count, we got a few pretty decent games in the mix. One of those was Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was a pretty damn sweet reimagining of the first few hours of the 1997 classic. But the whole game is yet to be released, and the remake made a number of very significant changes to the status quo that have put the game in a very interesting place that we don't yet fully understand. Through December, Square Enix acquired a number of new Final Fantasy related copyrights which may give us an indication of what's to come. The terms Ever Crisis and The First Soldier were trademarked on December the 17th, and the logo for the Shinra Electric Power Company on the 22nd. Okay, here's your warning, spoilers ahead for the original and remake of Final Fantasy VII. You have been warned. Ever Crisis most likely refers in some way to the prequel game Crisis Core, which launched on the PSP in 2007. This game focused on Zack Fair, a member of the elite private military group Soldier alongside series villain Sephiroth, and he was a very close friend to the protagonist of the main game, Cloud Strife. Through the events of Final Fantasy VII, we learn that Cloud isn't really who he thinks he is, and that his psyche was shattered after Zack's death, leading him to replace Zack in all his memories and unwittingly claim Zack's deeds as his own. As it turns out, pretty much every badass thing Cloud did before the game, that was actually Zack, and Cloud is really just a wimpy kid who wasn't good enough to get into Soldier. You know, it's pretty standard JRPG stuff with crazy trauma, and now it's made even more complicated with timey-wimey nonsense.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
But even though he wasn't really the best of the best, Cloud still pulled through and saved the day, teaching us all a valuable lesson in perseverance. However, the thing about the remake is that it may have just thrown all of that out the window by screwing up the entire timeline, and now Zack may be alive, but what does that mean for Cloud and what the hell is really happening? All I know is that I'm excited for what the hell kind of bullshit Nomura has up his sleeve, because it's probably going to be pretty damn nuts. The first soldier most likely refers to Sephiroth because before his turn to evil shirtless silver-haired bad bitch, he was revered as a war hero. Could this filing refer to a game with Sephiroth in the lead? To be fair, now seems like pretty much the perfect time to work on weird side projects like that, since the remake screwed up the timeline and made anything possible. The final trademark was for the logo of the Shinra Electric Power Company, the evil corporation behind the soldier program that's destroying the planet and must be stopped by Cloud and his party. Any of these trademarks could signify something coming in the future of Final Fantasy, or it could just all be nothing. Square Enix is a huge company, so hoovering up any relevant names just in case they might need them isn't outside the realm of possibility. It is also just as possible that Ever Crisis or The First Soldier could just be some dogshit mobile game instead of something more substantial. Or perhaps this could all lead into the next part of the remake or reimagining or whatever the hell you want to call it, or even some DLC for the existing part. We still have no idea when the next parts will come out or what form they will really take, since the project isn't even really just a remake, it's much more than that. Ultimately, we're just gonna have to sit and wait to find out what any of this means, but I for one am excited for any craziness Nomura tries to throw our way, even if it ends up rubbish. And finally, after a year of heavy hitters, 2021 is off to a rather quiet start, with few major games for the first few months. However, Nintendo has got off to a flying start as it continues to dominate the charts, as it holds the top 2 spots as well as a few others. Number 1 is held by Animal Crossing, which holds its reign from last week, and number 2 is Mario Kart 8, up from number 3. Both games actually dropped 47 and 43% respectively, but this is very common for the first few weeks of January, and Nintendo still saw Switch sales increase by 123% over the same period for last year. Other Switch games in the charts included Minecraft, which stayed at 7th, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which hopped up from 10th to 9th, and Ring Fit Adventure, which saw a huge boost from 18th to 6th. Just Dance 2021 slid up from 5th to 3rd, but this version didn't release on the Wii this time, so let's have a clap for our fallen soldier.
She was a true patriot.
Big games from last year were knocked down a peg by Nintendo, but do continue to endure, such as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which sank from 4th to 5th, FIFA 21 fell from 2nd to 4th, and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Jesus that's a long name, dropped from 6th to 10th. But somehow, by some divine miracle or satanic ritual, Rockstar has still got GTA 5 in the charts, and it went up from 9th to 8th. These are boxed sales charts just in the UK, so people are still buying GTA 5 on disc 8 years after the damn game came out. Oh my god. That's a lot of money, and that's not even factoring in all the microtransactions. Unfortunately for CD Projekt, however, Cyberpunk is nowhere to be seen in the top 10 as it fell down to 20th after a 59% sales drop. A major patch is due out some point this month, which will hopefully repair the game's issues, but I'm worried the damage has already been done. Though I suppose it can't really get much worse, so I guess the only way to go is up. Oh, I've tempted fate now, haven't I? And that's it for today. If you like this no shit format, go ahead and give the video a like to give it a boost, hit subscribe and the bell to stay notified about all future installments. Toss a coin to your YouTuber over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. I've been Henry Cooper. That's all for today. Bye for now.